It's time now for the business news with Kate Moody. Good evening, Kate.
Hi, Delano.
You're not starting out with Brexit, but you're starting out with the end of an era for Airbus, the plane maker, pulling the plug on the A380. But it's a new chapter of uncertainty for the company's employees.
Yeah, about 3,500 people actually work on that A380 program in sites across Europe. Outgoing CEO Tom Enders says he cannot guarantee that no jobs will be cut as that program is wound down over the next 2 years. Wasim Cornet reports.
As news broke Thursday morning of Airbus stopping production of the A380, employees at the Airbus plant in Toulouse were torn between sadness and nostalgia.
I shed a tear. This plane will go down in history, like the Concorde.
A lot of us have grown up with the A380, an amazing aircraft. Most of us were here for the maiden flight. Those are memories we will never forget.
For many workers, the announcement also brings uncertainty about their future at Airbus. Approximately 3,500 employees work on the A380 program across the continent. Speaking to France 24, Airbus CFO Harold Wilhelm said they were looking at options to minimize the impact.
Now we have to work, with the social partners to see how we can reallocate most of the people, to other programs, but it's too early to say how and when.
The end of the Airbus A380 is also the end of a European icon. When the plane was first unveiled in 2005, the two guests of honor were then French President Jacques Chirac and German Chancellor Gerhard Schröder. Over the years, the production of the A380 became a truly European enterprise. Its wings were built in Wales, the tailplane in Spain, the forward and center portions of the fuselage were built in France, while the rear portion was built in Germany. And all the parts came together in Toulouse, where the plane was assembled. The last Super Jumbo will be delivered in 2021. Airbus says it will then focus on the production of the smaller A320, A330, and A350 planes.
Now, shutting down that A380 program will cost Airbus over 460 million euros, although the firm said those losses were largely embedded in its 2018 results. Net profit rose nearly 30% to 3 billion euros for the year as a whole. Airbus is expecting higher profits and delivery this year, with up to 890 new commercial aircraft set to be finished. But the French-based firm repeated its stark warnings about the threat posed by Brexit. The chief executive said tens of billions of euros are being spent in preparation for Britain's exit from the European Union, and that the terms of that exit could impact its future operations in the UK. Airbus shares rose as much as 5%, settling just under 3% at the closing bell in Paris. Let's check in on the rest of the day's trading action now. Wall Street dipping slightly after new data showed a drop in retail sales in the month of December. Retail sales down 1.2%, their biggest monthly drop in a decade. That underscores the uncertain mood among American consumers at the moment. Just the Nasdaq up about 0.25 percentage point this hour. The major European indices closed mostly lower. The FTSE 100 slightly above the flat line in London. Investors in Europe also keeping a close eye on those ongoing trade talks between the US and China. Amazon has pulled the plug on plans to build part of its second headquarters in New York City. The decision to split major new offices between Queens and a suburb of Washington, D.C. had sparked deeply divided reactions. Opponents in New York had suggested the premises would send the cost of living skyrocketing, and they criticized both city and state governments for offering major tax incentives and subsidies to one of the world's most valuable companies. Now, while those critics celebrated the decision this Thursday, some protesters accused them of taking away potential jobs. Take a listen.
Our values in New York City are to defend working men and women, labor unions, the rights of men and women to organize. Our $3 billion in corporate welfare is something we fought for. Amazon chose to walk away.
You can hear the hecklers there asking, what are you going to do about the jobs? Now, Amazon has said it will not reopen what had been a long search process for a second headquarters, and that it would proceed with plans for an HQ2 campus in Northern Virginia. Officials in Nashville, Tennessee, which had been a runner-up and which was chosen for a smaller office space, said they remained open to further expansion there. Amazon shares have dropped 1%. Unemployment in France dropped to its lowest level in a decade. The percentage of people out of work dropped from 9.1% in the third quarter to 8.8% in the period from October to December. That's about 2.5 million people overall. It gives a much-needed boost for President Emmanuel Macron's economic agenda. Economists, though, warn the data don't take into account people who've given up looking for work or those who are only working part-time. Germany just avoided slipping into recession last year. Having contracted slightly in the third quarter, GDP growth was stagnant at 0% in the last 3 months of 2018. Global trade tensions have contributed to a drop in exports, specifically of cars, a crucial sector for Europe's industrial powerhouse. The French carmaker Renault has cut its profit forecast for the coming year, but said it expected the global and European markets to be stable in 2019. That is, unless the UK leaves the EU without a Brexit deal. In 2018, net profits at Renault slumped by more than a third in 2018 to just under €3.5 billion, as its Japanese partner Nissan contributed less than the previous year. Meanwhile, Renault says it will work to overcome any mistrust between itself and its alliance partners after their former chairman, Carlos Ghosn, was arrested in Tokyo last year.
Our responsibility is to ensure continuity, the continuing of this work. I'd say the best tribute to Carlos Ghosn are the results today. It's the fact that we have a strong determination to continue the work of the alliance, of which we have a vital need, and not just to continue it, but to improve it.
Now, whether you believe it's the stuff of true romance or just a commercial trap, there is no doubt that Valentine's Day often sees big spending. Flowers and chocolates are among the most traditional gift options, and retailers look forward to a welcome boost each February.
It's a staple of Valentine's Day. Around 630 producers grow roses in Ecuador, and this plant nursery is experiencing its busiest time of the year.
This farm expects to sell around 2.8 million stems for Valentine's Day.
In the Fiorentina plant nursery, the production of roses this Valentine's Day is up 7% compared to last year, due in part to an exceptionally warm winter. But the warm temperatures have also forced producers to slash prices by about 10%. Each year, some 17,000 tons of Ecuadorian roses are shipped across the globe, primarily to the United States and Canada. More than 14,500 kilometers away, workers in the Australian city of Adelaide are applying the final touches to another Valentine's Day essential, chocolate. With no Oompa Loompas to help out at this factory, chocolate makers are working overtime to supply Australian stores with enough sugary goodness. Valentine's Day is an opportunity for retailers to cash in despite the post-Christmas slump.
It's a day where Australians spent about $14 million on food and dinner. So for retailers, it's a really good day, and it's an important day at a pretty quiet time of the year post-Christmas.
In the U.S., consumers are expected to spend $21 billion on Valentine's Day gifts. Love it or hate it, there's no question that February 14th is a profitable day for retailers.
I did come across one pretty astonishing statistic, Delano. Apparently 20% of young millennials in the United States expect their partners to spend between $250 and $500 on Valentine's Day presents this year. It just seems extraordinary to me, far beyond.
I would think that millennials would turn their backs on something like Valentine's Day.
You'd think so, but apparently they're more traditional than we imagined.
These kids, I tell you. What are you doing this Valentine's Day?
I'm hoping to get home in time for a glass of wine. I'll tell you that, Delano.
I'm hitting the bars too, if that makes a difference. Kate, thank you very much for that. Kate Moody there with a look at today's business news. We're going to